I mean, I think the first step is to give yourself permission not to suffer in this way, to give yourself permission and self-compassion and the kindness you would give to anybody else, that feeling guilty is not your sentence that you're stuck with for the rest of your life, that you have a choice and you can make a decision to begin to find ways of living your life and diminishing the level of guilt that you feel. So I think that's the first thing. And then there are many ways. And then I think the other thing is that if you're a perfectionist and you're always kind of wanting things to be perfect, you look for more control. So I think part of it is understanding the paradox, that sort of recognizing the aspects of yourself and life that you don't have control over, the more likely it is that you will adjust and that you'll heal. So I think that is sort of important prerequisites. And then there are many different things that we can do. So you could list all the things that you wish you'd done differently, like get them down, write them down rather than going on this loop in your head. Write them down on a list. And then maybe on another days, you can't do everything at once, you could write an apology letter. And that apology letter can be a postcard of a few lines. It can be a number of postcards. It can be a long letter. It can be many letters, so that you find a way of saying the words that you didn't say to the person at the time, but you put them down on a letter. And maybe you can do something symbolic with that letter when you feel like you've really said everything that you need to say. And there are many different symbolic things that you could do. You could bury it, you could put it somewhere safe, you can put it in the memory box, you can talk to a friend about it, but let it serve as an acknowledgement of what you want to apologize for, and find a way of expressing it. Maybe make the decision for a guilt-free morning. You know, so there's this idea that for worries, you can say, listen, I'm going to question the worry. Is it a legitimate worry, or is it me on an anxiety loop? No, it's not anything I can change. It's not something I have control over. I'm going to give myself 4 hours when I don't worry. In the same way with the guilt, you can make the decision, I'm going to give myself a manageable amount of time. It may be just 2 hours, 1 hour, where you're not going to worry. And one of the kind of tools that you could help with that is an EMDR tool. It's on my Instagram. It's called a container, that you could pop the guilt in the safe or the container and do the bilateral tapping to kind of block it, so that you kind of push it away, you intentionally push it away. I think the thing that you talked about is talk to yourself as a best friend, or tell the story from your father's voice. I think that's a really useful way of thinking about it. And then I think maybe talk to yourself first, but then again to a therapist or a friend, like, what would it take for you to forgive yourself? Like, what is this life sentence that you're giving yourself? What are the barriers of forgiveness to yourself? What is blocking you? Where do they come from? Do they come from beliefs that were installed by your grandparents, your parents, society, your religion? Kind of try to unravel what it is that is so unforgivable that you have to grip tight to your guilt. So try and work that out. I mean, doing that for yourself in many different aspects of grief, looking at your roots and understanding your belief systems and whether they're useful for you now. And they may be belief systems that you learned in response to events, or they may be belief systems that you were taught. But either way, you need to kind of work out, are they useful for me now? Are they serving me, given who I am, the situation I'm in, and what I need for my life going forward? Also, I think this magical thinking that, you know, if I love someone enough, they will survive. And I think we need the humility to recognize our limits. You know, we are not God. There are limits of what we can do, however much we want or wish or pray or want things to be different. We are fundamentally powerless over these big events. It doesn't mean that we're a bad person. It doesn't mean that we've done something wrong, but there are things in life that we have no control over and that we suffer. And you can't wrench that suffering to the ground and block it by thinking your way out of it. Part of the suffering is to let it to come through your system, to give yourself the support and the kindness and connection to others, to bear it, to give yourself the resilience, but you can't wrench control over it. And also within that, kind of recognize, given what you knew at the time, the person that you were. So a lot of those what ifs come from retrospect. And I do it, you know, I've gone to the supermarket and I've left my purse behind. That's a minute example. But you go, why didn't I remember? I'm such an idiot. And, you know, multiply that by 1,000 with guilt when somebody that you love dies. But, you know, what you knew at the time is what you knew at the time. And you have to kind of do a reckoning of that and a recognizing of that and an acknowledgement of that. And my last kind of thought for this, and maybe there are thousands of others, but these are the ones I've got for this morning, is the serenity prayer. I don't know if everybody listening knows the serenity prayer, which is, God, give me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.